Welcome back. It's another episode of the Harvey Hour Fired Up. My name is Nathan Harvey. I'm glad you could join me for today's episode of the Harvey Hour Fired Up. We got some great topics going. We're talking Aaron Rodgers. We got Knicks Game 2 versus the Heat. We got the Lakers taking Game 1 over the Warriors last night. Both were great games. Phenomenal to watch both those games last night. And we also have my top 10 NFC teams. And then on Friday during the episode of the Harvey Hour, I will be doing my top 10 AFC teams, and we'll break that down accordingly. But let's get into our first topic. We got some news. Today, some news broke about the Jets, but I want to talk about the overall Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. So Robert Saleh said, I believe yesterday or the day before, that Aaron Rodgers has already made his presence felt within the Jets organization, and today it came out that the Jets have signed Randall Cobb, a former receiver of the Green Bay Packers and a former receiver of Aaron Rodgers, one receiver that actually Aaron Rodgers campaigned for a couple years back. So I want to get into the first thing, which is the shocking part of this statement that Robert Saleh made. We have a clip here. Aaron Rodgers is already practicing football in May, late April and early May. This is the first very, very shocking thing because he hasn't done this in years where he's actually practiced during the offseason, especially this early in the offseason. Aaron Rodgers notoriously would take off seasons off because that's just what he did. He would go out to his home in Malibu, or he would sit back and go on these, darkness retreats, and he would go on ayahuasca trips, and he just would enjoy his own personal life outside of football during the offseason. And in his opening press conference with the Jets, he made some very, very crazy comments that we haven't heard Aaron Rodgers say in a very long time. And some news that I think a lot of Jets fans were hopeful of, and now he's basically confirmed people's, hopes and wishes by saying that it'll look like he'll play more than just this year. He's on a 2-year deal. The Jets pushed back his major cap hit until next year, so now he's getting the lowest base salary he can get, and they moved the big chunk of his money to a signing bonus. So next year his cap hit's like $100 million, something like that. That will get obviously restructured and pushed back multiple years where they could just pay it off slowly instead of taking that huge hit right up front. So first of all, that's the crazy thing, that Aaron Rodgers actually said that he would stay more than this year, or at least alluded to that he would continue playing after this year, which is funny because going into this season when he was still a Green Bay, or going into this offseason when he was technically still a Green Bay Packer, he went into his darkness retreat 90% retired. And now all of a sudden his career is, reinvigorated and he's rejuvenated to play football again. It's kind of crazy. It seems like this new scenery around Aaron Rodgers has, sort of gave him new energy. He's going on to 40 years old, and all of a sudden now he wants to continue playing after being 90% retired and has alluded to retirement every single year for the past 3 years. Now all of a sudden he wants to continue playing with no doubts. We'll have to obviously see until, how the season pans out. But it looks like Aaron Rodgers is going to play more than just this year with the Jets. And now the Jets will now have to give up their first-round pick for next year's draft because of that conditional second-round pick. If Aaron Rodgers does play 65% of the snaps, the Jets, that conditional second round turns into a first round, which I think will be pretty good for the Packers because I do anticipate Aaron Rodgers playing more than 65% of the snaps this season. The Randall Cobb move, which Aaron Rodgers said, I never made a list of demands. Well, if you want to use the word demand, just like you want to use the word immunized instead of vaccinated because you weren't vaccinated, correct, you did not make a list of demands. You made strong suggestions, like getting Nathaniel Hackett, which I think could have been an Aaron Rodgers move. You got Alan Lazard, which was an Aaron Rodgers move. I think you got one of the Packers' offensive linemen recently. That was definitely an Aaron Rodgers move. You wanted Mercedes Lewis. I wouldn't be surprised if during this offseason if the Jets do get Mercedes Lewis. And now all of a sudden, Randall Cobb magically is on the Jets, and you're saying that you had no influence over this? Where would he fit? I have the Jets depth chart right here. According to ESPN, the top 3 wide receivers are Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, and Mecole Hardman. By the way, that Mecole Hardman pickup I think is a really, really good one. Then you have Corey Davis at your number 4. Who knows if he'll be on the team? And you also have Denzel Mims at potentially the 5th spot, but Denzel Mims wanted out at the beginning of last season. So who knows if he's going to even be on the starting roster. But where would he fit? I don't think anywhere, nor do you really put 4 starter material receivers out there consistently. Usually it's just the top 3, which in this case would be Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, and Mecole Hardman. And according to ESPN, this is the main set that they run: 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end. So I'm wondering, where does he fit? And also, why would the Jets pick him up? Aaron Rodgers begged to get Randall Cobb the past couple years, and in a playoff game, a home game against San Francisco, when you were getting embarrassed by the 49ers and embarrassed by Jimmy G, you threw it to him once, which I believe might have been the last pass of the game when Randall Cobb was in double coverage. Randall Cobb is not the same Randall Cobb from 8 years ago. So I don't know why the Jets would make this move. The Jets have now turned into the New York Packers. Like, what are you doing here? So I guess it's to make him feel more comfortable. I mean, you got Allen Lazard, which I think is a perfectly fine number 2 or number 3. Have at it. You got rid of Elijah Moore. You got Mecole Hardman from the Chiefs. I think that was a great one. Well, technically free agency, but a former Chief, which I think that was a really good pickup. You could have him on jet sweeps and short drag routes and slant routes, or he could even go for deep go ball routes. Who knows? I think Mecole Hardman's a wonderful utility receiver that you could put in sort of any position on the field. Corey Davis, he's an okay 3-4. Who knows if he's even going to be on the starting roster? And Denzel Mims, who wanted out, for some reason you held on to him. So where is Randall Cobb going to fit? The move doesn't make much sense. So good for Aaron Rodgers. I'm actually happy to see this. I think now we could finally say that the New York Jets could be very well the most interesting NFL team next season. Because we have a 40-year-old who just had his worst season in over a decade, coming into a new team in arguably the biggest market in the NFL, and now he's supposed to say, you know what, let me flip the script of my career now, and let me go win playoff games and go win a Super Bowl with my new team. I think that makes the Jets very, very interesting, and for the first time in a very long time, I think the Jets going to be very, very relevant. Extremely relevant, because they have arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the entire in NFL history, especially one of the greatest throwers in NFL history. But also, we have to realize that Aaron Rodgers is going from the much, much easier NFC to now an extremely hard AFC. And now, when I do my AFC picks, I do think the Jets will be on my top 10 list, and they very much deserve that. They may even be top 5. I'll have to look into it. I'm not setting that in stone quite yet, but we're looking at the Jets here. They look really good. Breece Hall looked very, very good before he got hurt. Garrett Wilson was the offensive rookie of the year. Allen Lazard, he was sort of your go-to target last year when he was healthy for the Packers. Mecole Hardman was a great player for the Chiefs. Where are you going to fit Randall Cobb? I don't understand it. And watch, they got Tyler Conklin and C.J. Uzomah as their first 2 tight ends. I thought the Jets, they got Will McDonald, an edge rusher. I think you should have gone tight end. You had Michael Mayer and you had Dalton Kincaid there. You could have got the best tight end in this draft. Some people were comparing, I think, Kincaid, he had like Travis Kelce elements to him. Well, if you want to really bolster your offense and make sure that Aaron Rodgers is in the perfect place to succeed, why didn't you go get a tight end? That's what I was wondering. Instead, they waited until like 25 seconds left on the draft clock, got nervous, and drafted Will McDonald. I don't understand that pick whatsoever. I'm going late first round as a depth position for the Eagles. The Jets are picking them for, I guess, a depth position at pick, what they have, 15, I think. I think you should have gone tight end at that spot, but I'm not too sure. I do expect the Jets to be better. I think that's sort of given when you have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time at the quarterback position throwing the ball for you. And especially when you have talent like Breece Hall. Michael Carter's a fine running back too. Garrett Wilson, he was, right, like I said, offensive rookie of the year. Allen Lazard is a good receiver. Mecole Hardman is a good receiver. Like the Jets are in a great place. Now it's a question of what kind of Aaron Rodgers will we get? Now Aaron Rodgers has more talent than he had on the Packers. Will that equal more success in a playoff run? But then again, we also have to look at the Aaron Rodgers history over the past decade, more than a decade at this point. He has not been good in the playoffs, even with Devontae Adams, even with Robert Tonyan, who was, I think people forget how good Robert Tonyan was like 2 years ago. He was a really good tight end for the Packers 2 years ago. The Packers had a good offensive line. The Jets, they need work at least at the guard position, and they might need a left tackle because the Jets just denied Mekhi Becton's fifth-year option. You may need a tackle. I don't know. I guess you got the one from the Packers. But guard could still be an issue for you. I believe you drafted a center in one of the later rounds, second or third maybe. So the offensive line's a little bit shaky. I think the tight end position is very shaky on the offense. You could have had a great, you were in prime position to take the top tight end. If you like Michael Mayer better than Dalton Kincaid, you could have picked him. If you preferred Kincaid over Mayer, you could have picked him. Instead, the Jets went for a depth edge position in the first round when their defense was number 4 last year. I don't quite understand it, but I do like the Jets, at least now, because they're in a good position. They're in a great position to succeed. And now it's the question of, I think the Jets will be a playoff team. I think at least with this roster, if they're not a playoff team, I think it would be an ultimate failure for the Jets. I have to, albeit everyone stays healthy. But I think we're looking at this team. Aaron Rodgers, he didn't make a list of demands. I guess that's fair, but the Randall Cobb move, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Personally, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. Let's get into our next topic here. So, the Knicks have tied it up 1 apiece at home. The Heat stole game 1. Then the Knicks came out and were able to win game 2 at home without Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler tried to play in this game, supposedly, and the coach was like, nope, you can't go. And the injury's not as bad as people thought. That's why he actually had a decent chance to play in game 2. But the coaches were like, no, we're going to go back home. You're going to play games 3 and 4, and we're going to win probably both those games. That's probably what their thinking was. There was a very stark difference between this game and game 1. I was at game 1, and the strategy they had in game 1 didn't make a lot of sense to me. In game 1, if you guys can remember, they were up double digits, and Tom Thibodeau was calling timeouts when you didn't really need to. Usually when you're up by 10 points, it's the other team trying to slow your momentum in order for them to get actually a chance to get back in the game. But instead, the Knicks were the ones calling the timeouts, which didn't make a lot of sense. And then with 6.5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, you had one singular timeout in a very, very close ball game. Also, you couldn't hit a 3. You couldn't buy a 3 for the life of you. Obi Toppin, who was a starter in that game, he was your third highest scorer and barely played in the fourth quarter, which didn't make a lot of sense to me either. In this game, you could actually hit 3s. In game 1, you shot 20.6% from 3. In this game, you shot 40%. Now, free throws have been abysmal for the Knicks. Mitchell Robinson can't hit a free throw. He's horrible at the line. But in this game, the Knicks played pretty well. They played better defense, and that could be because Jimmy Butler wasn't on the court. The shocking thing is, and I think this is what Knicks fans and people who are rooting for the Knicks like myself need to be worrisome of. Many of the Heat players who were scoring a lot of points were undrafted. Like, they weren't drafted at all. And they were performing very, very well. The Heat are trying to win on culture because, obviously, if you had skill, you'd be drafted in the first or second round, obviously. The Heat in the playoffs with Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley are a phenomenal team, and we've seen it now. They looked horrible in game 1, or at least I should say in the playoff game. Or the play-in game, sorry. They looked terrible. They got out-rebounded, and they couldn't do anything. They lost to the Hawks. Then they go on this run where you upset the Bucks in 5 games with Giannis playing, I think, 2 games and a quarter. You beat them. You go on to the Knicks now. You steal game 1, playing very well. Albeit the Knicks couldn't make a 3 for the life of them. Also, they couldn't shoot a free throw. So the fact that the Heat are winning with not great talent, like not phenomenal top-tier talent, guys who are undrafted, I think that should be a little bit worrisome for Knicks fans, for people who are rooting for the Knicks, for people who pick the Knicks like myself. I'll give this, though. RJ Barrett has been playing out of his mind against the Heat. In 2 straight games, early in the game, he has set the tone for the Knicks, and as large a part has kept the Knicks in these ball games. Now, the second half was all Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. Josh Hart, at least on the boards, not really much in the stat sheet, although he did have 14 points. He had 11 rebounds. He had a clutch offensive rebound late in the game. He also had 9 assists. He was literally this close to a triple-double. Jalen Brunson in the second half had a phenomenal second half. And while I always said you could really put Julius Randle as a 1A or a 1B, and Jalen Brunson would be the other one, whether he'd be the 1A or the 1B, I think, honestly, the Knicks go as Jalen Brunson goes. Jalen Brunson went 0 of 7 from 3 in game 1. And the Knicks were bad. Now, the game was close through most of it. But overall, the Knicks just couldn't shoot. Jalen Brunson in this game was hitting clutch shots. He was getting open. He was making the right pass. And the Knicks looked pretty good. Now, they were late in the game, it was a little bit worrisome. You needed a couple clutch threes from Josh Hart, a couple clutch shots from Jalen Brunson. R.J. Barrett needed to be, R.J. Barrett, against the Heat at least. Mitchell Robinson. I'm a little bit worried about Mitchell Robinson overall. Now, on the plus-minus, Mitchell Robinson was a little bit better than Hartenstein. But Hartenstein, honestly, I think Hartenstein, I think he's very, very comparable to Mitchell Robinson. I just think Hartenstein, I think he's more efficient, truthfully. He out-rebounded Mitchell Robinson in this game. Now, he only scored 3 points in the game, 1 shot and 1 free throw. And Mitchell Robinson scored 6 points. But Mitchell Robinson could have had double digits if he only can make free throws. That's something that Hartenstein can. I also think the way the Knicks were playing, you had Mitchell Robinson, who is a slow defender, on Bam Adebayo, who's much, much quicker. That I didn't understand. Now, I understand Julius Randle was playing technically hurt, and Julius Randle had a great game. 25 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, 8 of 18 shooting, 3 of 9 from 3. But I think Julius Randle would have been a better defender on Bam than Mitchell Robinson was. I mean, a large part of this game was Bam would get the ball, Mitchell Robinson would be on him, and Bam would just blow right by Robinson. Hartenstein actually, I think, played up against Bam a little bit better. And also, Obi Toppin, again, 10 minutes. Now, he took 2 shots, 2 threes, he didn't make them. But Obi Toppin has been a perfectly fine player for the Knicks, and he got about the same amount of minutes as Emmanuel Quickley, who, once again, is having bad games in the playoffs. Now, he's a young player, I can understand that. But he's just been bad. Like, we're talking about a guy who, at least a large part of my friend group, and for a large part of the season, was winning 6th man of the year. It wasn't until late where Malcolm Brogdon really set the tone and created the gap between him and Quickley, and then, ended up winning the 6th man of the year. But Emmanuel Quickley has been very, very bad. He had a couple okay games, but nothing like he was in the regular season. Nothing that I guess you would consider 6th man of the year worthy. So the Knicks are in a weird spot because you almost lost to a team without their main star, Jimmy Butler. I mean, Kyle Lowry off the bench has been great. In this game, he wasn't that great, but he was still very good passing the ball. He got 4 rebounds, only 6 points, though. I mean, Kyle Lowry is still a threat. He's still a really, really good playmaker. I'm just wondering what happens when you go to Miami. Because I keep saying, the Knicks, when MSG is rolling, I was at game 1. Early in that game, the first half, the crowd was rolling, loud, chanting defense, defense, and going crazy. Miami? With Jimmy Butler? Remember the last time Jimmy Butler was in Miami? What he did to the Bucks? 56 points. It was crazy. And now you're going back to Miami, tied 1-1. It should have been 2-0 if you guys could hit a 3. Or, I don't know, give up easy buckets, easy fast break points. But, I mean, the Knicks out-rebounded the Heat in this game by 16, 50-34. I mean, the Knicks could get rebounds. I mean, Mitchell Robinson has the highest offensive rebound percentage in the playoffs. He's like 18.4% offensive rebound percentage, which is crazy high. But you're going to go to Miami now. Miami's going to be very, very loud. Jimmy Butler, I guarantee you, is going to be fine off that injury because we were told it looked pretty bad, at least visually when I was there, it looked pretty bad. And the report was his ankle swelled up like the size of a baseball. But now all of a sudden we're hearing that, it's not as serious as we originally thought. I'm a little bit worried for the Knicks. I picked the Knicks in 6, I believe. I'm a little bit worried. Now, I hope the Knicks sweep Miami on the road. So then game 5, I will be at game 5. I get to see them move on to the conference finals. Close it out at MSG in game 5. I think that's going to be a sight to see if that actually does happen. But I do think this could go, if everything goes as planned, this can go probably 6 or 7. But the Knicks would need to steal one on the road, which I don't know if they're capable of. They may lose game 3, and I think they may win game 4 after that. Otherwise, you're down 3-1. And I don't know if you can come back from that. I really don't. The Heat, for some reason, are taking it to another level. Jimmy Butler has taken his game from the regular season like he, for some reason, does. If he played like in the playoffs, like he does if he plays in the playoffs and he takes this playoff performances and puts it in the regular season, he's a top 5 player. Instead, for some reason, he just saves it all up for the playoffs and then absolutely explodes in the playoffs. I'm nervous for the Knicks. I really am. But I'm not giving up hope. I still got Knicks in 6. I hope it's Knicks in 5. But we will see. Let's get into our next topic. The Lakers have stolen one from Golden State on the road in Game 1. So I took a look at this game, and I found it very, very interesting. Because what the Lakers are doing is something that we normally don't see in today's NBA. The Lakers, actually throughout the entire season, have tried to play old school basketball. Physical down low. On offense. Get it to AD. He'll play bully ball in the paint. Easy twos. Drive down to the lane. Get fouls called on you. You shoot free throws. The Warriors are new school basketball, and they have been for a while. They're playing new school basketball. Rely on jump shots. Rely on the 3 ball. You rely a lot on the 3 ball. You're quick. You're agile. You're getting it to guys who are taking open jump shots, not guys who are driving it down low. The Lakers are playing physical basketball. This is something that the Kings could have done and should have done, and that is the recipe to beat the Warriors. I picked the Warriors in 6. I don't know if they can win this series. Because what the Lakers showed, now I don't think Anthony Davis is going to go for 30 and 23. Like, he had a phenomenal game. 23 rebounds, 30 points. Like, he played very, very well. He also had a lot of rest. That's the big thing. I don't think Anthony Davis is going to play, one game here, then a rest day, then another game, and put up the same performance. But I'm nervous because this is exactly what the Warriors, they can't handle. When you are a bigger, stronger, more physical team, that is a recipe to beat the Warriors. Because the Warriors, throughout the entire season, have had turnover issues, and they have had serious foul trouble issues. And that's what happened in this game. The fouls are crazy. The Warriors doubled the Lakers' fouls, 24-12. And I don't think, as people say, oh, the refs are out to get the Warriors. If anything, the Warriors in the NBA are the biggest market. To put the Warriors in the playoffs and have them to continue in the playoffs, it keeps the ratings high. So if anything, the refs would be going for the Warriors. Now the Lakers obviously have LeBron, but outside of LeBron, Anthony Davis has health issues, so it doesn't make them as big a market. They got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kuminga. Speaking of Kuminga, he didn't play a single minute in this game. I think what they need to do, personally, this is just from an outsider's perspective here, in order to beat the Lakers, who are more physical, you need a guy with some juice that could actually spark up your offense, add a little bit of youth to it, someone who could drive, dunk, make layups, a young guy who's incredibly athletic and could draw fouls. I think that's Jonathan Kuminga. He didn't play in this game. He hasn't played really much in this entire playoffs. You relied on Jordan Poole. Now, Kuminga is an extremely athletic player. He has his moments. But to not play him, instead to play JaMychal Green, who albeit put up 6 points, JaMychal Green is not the guy you want to go to in these playoffs with a team who's out physicaling you, if that's even a word. Jonathan Kuminga is an extremely athletic player. You need him to give a little bit of spark in your offense. Because if you shot 53 threes compared to 25 from the Lakers, you made 21, the Lakers made 6. And you lost, what was it, by 5. Now, some people are having a problem with Jordan Poole taking the last shot. I personally don't. Jordan Poole had made 6 threes in this game. Now, I don't love that he took it from like 30 feet away. You had about, 4 feet of room that you probably could have taken a couple steps and then shot the 3. But you decided, let me just catch and shoot because time's running out. So I don't love that part. But him taking the shot him being the one to take, I believe it was 115, 112 at that time, to potentially tie the game, him being the shot taker, I have no problem with that. I just wish he took, one or two steps forward to give himself a better shot. Steph Curry was doing Steph Curry things. Now, it wasn't, superhuman, put him to sleep Steph, but it was efficient shooting, 10 of 24, 6 of 13 from 3. He got his 6 rebounds, 6'2" guard. He's getting a bunch of rebounds. Klay Thompson had an okay game, not great. Didn't shoot the ball very well. Andrew Wiggins had a bad game. Kevon Looney, again, 23 rebounds. On the boards, Kevon Looney's going out of his mind. And Draymond Green was complaining to the refs again and got a technical foul late in the third. I mean, we saw this in Game 1 and Game 2 with the Kings. When you dominate in the paint against the Warriors, that's your key to success. But when you can't score in the paint, when the Warriors are more nimble, shifty, more crafty than you, and are able to get away with it because you're missing your main game, which is down in the paint, scoring easy buckets, because you're bigger than them, that's where the Warriors eat you alive. Think about it. They made 21 threes to 6 threes, Warriors to Lakers, and you lost by 5. That's because you lost the paint battle 54-28. So that's the key. That's how the Lakers are going to win here. You're going to have LeBron, AD, even Vanderbilt, even though they took Vanderbilt out, and that's where they actually started to take off late in that game. You could probably even bring Rui Hachimura in. Bring him down low. Have them take low shots. Be more physical down low. I mean, Curry tried driving late in the game and got blocked by Anthony Davis. That's what you need to do. Deny the paint. Box out Kevon Looney so he can't get, he can put up 23. 23 rounds is absolutely insane. He's averaging over 18 rebounds in this entire playoff so far, which that is ridiculous. Those are like Wilt Chamberlain numbers. Box out. Get the rebound. Play bully ball. The Warriors are a team that don't drive. They do not draw fouls. They commit a lot of fouls. They commit a lot of turnovers. And that's where you're going to need to win this series. Now I think they'll regather themselves. The Warriors just came off a 7-game series for Sacramento. The Lakers had some rest. The hope now for the Warriors is that LeBron gets gassed, which now in the playoffs it looks like he's doing. He's getting very tired. Anthony Davis, I guarantee you he won't have another 30-point, 23-rebound game, in Game 2, sorry. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think Anthony Davis will have another game like this somewhere down the series. I think he will have another one of these types of games where he puts up a lot of points and a lot of rebounds. But I don't think he's going to go 30 and 23. So that's where the Warriors are going to need to actually, step it up. 7-game series, you're tired, you got to find that second gear. And then if you win this series, you're either going to be playing Denver, who just crushed Phoenix twice at home, or you're going to play Phoenix, who just won a insane series versus Denver with KD, with Chris Paul, who's out game 3-5, which I think the Nuggets now could be in they could be in a position to sweep, let's be honest here. And now you're going to be first in KD, Chris Paul being back, Ayton, who's a big guy. He has his moments on and off offensively, sometimes even defensively. He could just zone out. And you're also going to be playing against Devin Booker. While the Warriors didn't have much success against the Suns anyway. I'll still take the Warriors in 6 because I believe Steph Curry will go off, but I think it's a big question mark of if the Warriors are relying too much on Steph Curry, can they still succeed? Because they relied on Steph Curry throughout a couple regular seasons when Klay was hurt, when Draymond was hurt half the year, and they didn't look that great. Now Steph Curry's putting up phenomenal numbers, but the wins weren't there, and now it's not really a numbers game as much as it's a win column game. So Steph Curry averaging over 33 points in the series is absolutely ridiculous. Believe me, I understand that. But you're not getting the wins now if your team can't step up. I mean, Jordan Poole, I think this was his best game in the entire playoffs so far. 21 points. He shot nearly 50% from the floor. He shot over 50% from 3. You just got dominated in the paint. You got out-physicaled. So that's where the Lakers could win. That's where the Lakers could win. All right, I believe that's our last topic here, and indeed it is. We are talking about my top 10 teams in the NFC. Let's get it started with number 1.
Number 1.
I got the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles just came off a Super Bowl run. They lost Hargrave. You replaced him with Jalen Carter, who I picked to go to the Eagles. Thank you. I can't believe I actually got that right. They actually traded up to get Jalen Carter, which didn't really make any sense because I believe the Bears were going to go offensive line anyway. Weird thing, but it is what it is. You got your replacement for Hargrave. Good for you. You re-signed your cornerbacks. You brought in Matt Patricia to actually do his job, which is call plays on the offensive side, or at least be some sort of senior defensive advisor or something like that. So you got Matt Patricia in his own job, which is good. The Patriots didn't understand how to do that last year. Had him call offensive plays. You still got phenomenal talent offensively. You signed Jalen Hurts to a phenomenal deal. You just picked up DeAndre Swift from the Lions. You still got Devontae Smith. You got, what's his face? A.J. Brown. I believe you also still have Goddard. You got a bunch of weapons. I think the Eagles deserve to be the number one team in the NFC.
Number 2.
I got the San Francisco 49ers here. Now, I'm going based off this. Brock Purdy will be there. I think Brock Purdy will get healthy in time for the season to start. You picked up Hargrave from the Eagles, who Hargrave was a phenomenal defensive interior player for the Eagles last season, multiple sacks. Your defense is overall phenomenal. Fred Warner, I think DeForest Buckner, he may be there. He may be on the Colts. Never mind that. You got to work on cornerback a little bit. I don't feel great about their defensive backs. Your draft so far, your draft was just weird. I don't think it was highly graded at all. You got a kicker early in the round. I didn't understand that whatsoever. Your offense is great, though. Deebo Samuel, you got George Kittle, you got CMC now in a full season. Brock Purdy now will have a full season. You got Brandon Ayuk, you got Jennings. Your offense is insane. You also have phenomenal offensive line. The 49ers team in a weakened NFC, I think the 49ers deserve to be number 2, and I think they probably have, top 3, top 4 odds to actually win the Super Bowl if Brock Purdy is truly healthy.
Number 3.
I got the Dallas Cowboys. Now, for some reason, I looked at a bunch of top 10 lists so far. I saw the Seahawks here. I saw the Lions were even as high. I don't understand some of these lists here. I saw the Vikings at number 3. No, the Dallas Cowboys, I understand. Dak Prescott, he's not the greatest of quarterbacks. He's a B quarterback at his very best, probably B+ if you really want to push it. But last year was bad, at least turnover-wise. But you still got great offensive talent. You got rid of Zeke, who's taking touches away from the better running back, Tony Pollard. You got Tony Pollard. You lost Dalton Schultz. I think you should have gone Michael Mayer in the first round. Personally, you got that guy Mozzie Smith, I believe, a defensive interior lineman, who's, I guess, okay. People graded that pick very, very highly. You should have gone, replaced Dalton Schultz with a top tight end. You did in the first round. It is what it is. You still got Micah Parsons. I believe you still have DeMarcus Lawrence on the defensive line. Trayvon Diggs, who stepped up his game, from his first season, their first couple seasons where he gave up nearly 1,000 yards as a cornerback. Not really that great. You got Stephon Gilmore, which is a great pickup. CeeDee Lamb. You got Brandon Cooks, who's a great, great number 2 for you. I think the Cowboys are going to be great again on defense. I think the offense, you lost Kellen Moore to the Chargers. Now you got Mike McCarthy calling plays now. I don't know how that'll turn out. I'm going to assume it's going to be okay, not great. I do think, though, once again, in a weakened NFC, it's still going to be pretty easy for the Cowboys to be successful. But I think there is a drop-off from the 1 and 2 spot. There is a drop-off to the Cowboys. Number 4. I got the Seattle Seahawks. They nailed 2 drafts so far. Last year, at least cornerback-wise, they picked up 2 really, really good defensive backs, and they succeeded in a huge way. Now you go in, you draft Devon Witherspoon as your first pick, and then you go up and follow it up with JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, 2 great players. I think you can nail 2 drafts right here, use them very, very effectively. Geno Smith signed a long-term deal. I guess that's like a 3-year extension. So good for Geno Smith. They look like they're going forward with Geno Smith. I think the Seahawks are going to be a really, really good team. Fight for the NFC West? I don't think so, because I still think the 49ers are a better team. But I do think the Seahawks are going to be a great team. I think they're definitely going to be a playoff team this season if everything goes as planned. I don't love the running situation. You got Kenneth Walker, but outside of him, I don't really know. Your offensive line could use a little bit of work. But you still got offensive skill positions, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and JSN. Great pickups there. Great assets for your team. Geno Smith was more than effective. He sort of had I believe he won Comeback Player of the Year after being considered a bust when he was with the Jets. Good for Geno Smith. I think the Seahawks could nail 2 straight drafts. I got the Seahawks at number 4.
Number 5,
I got the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I know nobody likes Kirk Cousins, and I know I'm fully aware Kirk Cousins in prime time is not a great quarterback. Hell, he's even a bad quarterback. This team went 11-0 in 1-score games last year. I don't think that will happen again. But if you're taking a look at the NFC, I think there's a good shot. It's between the Vikings or the Lions to win the NFC North. I think the Bears may be number 3, but I think, the Bears they're still in a rebuild. I don't think they're fully there that could fully contend for the NFC North here. I think the Vikings, you lost Adam Thielen, you got Justin Jefferson, but instead with Adam Thielen, you replace him with Jordan Addison, who is arguably one of the best wide receivers in this draft. I like the Vikings. Your defense still gives me worry, though, because I thought your defense would be an upgrade last year than it was in prior years because you picked up Zadarius Smith, who showed up in the first game against the Packers. But outside of that, you were kind of slow in defensive back-wise. You still got Harrison Smith. I believe you picked up Byron Murphy from the Cardinals. I think that is a great asset to pick up. I like the Vikings here at number 5. The NFC is very weak. Kirk Cousins, I don't know what his future will hold. He's in his last year of his contract. I think just in the NFC, I think the Vikings are a top 5 team in the NFC.
Number 6.
I got the Detroit Lions. I don't love the first pick they had, Jahmyr Gibbs. I understand why you get him because you wanted to get off DeAndre Swift and his potential contract. But to pick him at number 12, I don't love it. You had a high pick in the second round. I think he would have been available at that spot. You instead picked him at number 12. Your defense still needs a lot of work, though. You got Jack Campbell as a linebacker in the first round. I think that's going to be more than capable. But your defensive backs were the key here in your defense last season. Like your top 5 or 6 defensive backs each gave up 100 passer rating, at least 100 passer rating when being targeted at. That's a problem. You were getting cooked every time someone tried to throw the ball against you. I don't love it. However, your offense for a decent part of the season to open it up was the highest scoring offense in the NFL with Jared Goff as your quarterback. Now, I would have actually loved to see you actually get a tight end because you lost TJ Hawkinson, who the Vikings picked up. That's another great asset the Vikings had. But this team was great offensively. Now Jameson Williams will once again be suspended at the beginning of the season for betting on games within the facility. I don't love that. However, you still got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You still got a bunch of great receivers. You got you picked up Jahmyr Gibbs. You think he's the key for you. Your offensive line's got Penei Sewell, who caught a first down pass last season. I mean, your offense was incredible. So I think you're going to follow that through. Your defense needs to be better if you want to make the playoffs, and you were right there. You just couldn't get it done because the Seahawks won last year, but you did knock the Packers off of a potential playoff run, so good for you. I think this team will be good. I think this team is a potential playoff team. I think the NFC North is up for grabs here between them and the Vikings. I got the Detroit Lions at number 6.
Number 7.
I got the Los Angeles Rams. I know. I know people are going to get mad and say, the Rams were horrible last year. They're even going to get worse now. Jalen Ramsey's gone. I understand that. But we do have to realize that a bunch of the Rams offensive players got hurt, including Aaron Donald on the defensive end. He got hurt. Cooper Kupp will be back. Matt Stafford will be back. Van Jefferson isn't dealing with an injury. They got off Allen Robinson, who wasn't really that good for him. Do you remember how Cooper Kupp was when he was healthy? He was going for Calvin Johnson's record and was a large part, and OBJ, who they don't have, but Cooper Kupp was a large part of the reason why they actually won the Super Bowl last year, or 2 years ago at this point. So the Rams are going to be healthy. Their offensive line gives me a little bit of pause here, but outside of that, offensively, that's really what they're going in on, is full offense. I think this team is going to be a great team, or a good team, I should say, not a great team. I don't think they're going to fight for the NFC West. There's a chance this team gets into the playoffs. I'm not too sure about that, but we're talking about the NFC, who's extremely, extremely weak, with Cooper Kupp, with Matt Stafford, who's on a big extension. You still got Aaron Donald. I mean, I think this team could win some games. Now, I don't know what their win over-under is. If I want to say over-under 8.5, I would honestly pick the over just to go 9 wins. I think this is a 9-8 team. Potentially, if they win a close game, could be 10-7. I'm not entirely sure, but this team, healthy, I think it can go up against almost any team in the NFC besides, obviously, the 49ers. Although Jimmy G's not there, so I don't know how they'll do. But I assume that they'll still lose to the 49ers.
Number 8.
I got the New York Giants. The New York Giants made a top 10 list when you're talking about best teams in the NFC. I got to admit, their moves have been really good. Daniel Jones is now on a $40 million a year contract. I got to give it to him. He played very well last year, but albeit he only threw 15 touchdown passes and you're paying him $40 million a year. Saquon Barkley, they're going to try to deal with their contract issue. He's not showing up, and he hasn't signed the franchise tag yet, so I don't know what's going on between him and the Giants. He wants, I think he said $16 million a year. I don't know if the Giants will pay that, but I think you're going to need to if you want to keep him. I don't know. You got a wide receiver in the draft. There you go. You're getting Daniel Jones some weapons. You got Darren Waller. You got a new center, I believe. I mean, we got to see if Daniel Jones can keep it up. Now, if he can't, then we know that last year was just a one-off. Although with Brian Daboll as your head coach, Daniel Jones looked great. He has toned down turnovers each year since his first 2 years where he had turnover issues. I got to hand him that. I think the Giants, with their defense was pretty good last year. Their offense was surprisingly efficient. I think the Giants, I think they could be another playoff team, although I think they'll stay about the 9-7, 9-8, that sort of range. I don't know if the Giants will be a playoff team. They should be better because Daniel Jones has more weapons, but I'm not too sure because some of these NFC teams are absolutely insane.
Number 9.
I got the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr over Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston? I think so. Now, you lost some defensive interior players, which could be a problem. But you did replace them in the draft, which is a good thing. You drafted some interior defensive linemen, which is good to replace. I don't have the players that they lost in front of me here, but you lost some very, very, very good defensive interior linemen. Now, I believe you drafted a tight end, which is good. If Alvin Kamara isn't dealing with his legal issues, you'll have him back. Michael Thomas is going to be back. If he's even a glimpse of what he was a couple of years ago, where he set the record for, I believe, most receptions in a season, I think you're going to be a decent team. Now, this team, with the number 10 team who I have, could win the NFC South. I think it's going to be between these two teams. I don't know if they could do it, though, because Derek Carr is still a big question mark. You got Chris Olave, who's I think it was a really, really good receiver last year, at least a rookie receiver last year. I don't know how far this team goes with Derek Carr as your quarterback. I like Derek Carr. I put him in my top 10 quarterbacks to start the year last year, which I got a lot of blowback for. But I think the Saints are going to be an okay team. At least I think Derek Carr is a better quarterback than Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston, so you should be much better. And to wrap it up with my final pick, my number 10 pick is the Carolina Panthers. It was honestly between them, the Packers, or the Bears. These three teams, I think, could fight for that 10 spot. But I think right now, Bryce Young was the best quarterback in the draft. You got Adam Thielen, who was a great wide receiver, too, for the Vikings. Your defense surprisingly stepped it up with Steve Wilkes as the head coach. You got Frank Reich as your head coach. I think he could do really, really well with Bryce Young. I just think the way this team goes, you got to bolster your offensive line a little bit. Your running game was surprisingly efficient. Now, I don't think you have Foreman anymore. I believe you still have Hubbard. But I think this team, I don't think this team is a playoff team. But I think the 7-10 range like they had last year, and that was with Sam Darnold as their quarterback and Baker Mayfield and P.J. Walker. I think they could repeat that and still fight for the NFC South because the NFC South is literally a dumpster fire. You got the Bucs with Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. You got the Falcons with Desmond Ridder. Now they're starting to try to get their offense going. You got Bijan Robinson. You got Algier. You got Cordell Patterson. You got Kyle Pitts. You got Drake London. You got those players, but you still got Desmond Ridder throwing him the football, to be fair. And then you also have Derek Carr and the Saints, who I think him and Bryce Young fighting for that number 1 spot. Saints versus Panthers for the number 1 spot in the NFC South. I think that's going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to be, a fireworks show like Tom Brady and Drew Brees were. But I just think, truthfully, these two teams are going to be at the top of the NFC South. I don't think the Falcons are going to be, and I for damn sure don't think the Bucs will be. The Bucs are just going to, with Baker Mayfield at quarterback, I've given up on Baker Mayfield. I gave him hope when he went to the Panthers. I thought this would be his redemption story where he performs very, very well, potentially pushes his team to the playoffs, and he just didn't deliver. I don't think on the Bucs he will because he's a short quarterback who for like the first 12 weeks, and I think he got benched after week 6. It lasted all the way until week 12 or 13 where he had the most batted balls in the NFL. I don't understand how you do that. It's Baker Mayfield. He's playing with great receivers, even better receivers than he did on the Panthers. So we'll see just how great the Bucs are. I don't think they're going to be that great. But that wraps up my top 10 teams for the NFC. We got Eagles, Niners, Cowboys, Seahawks, Vikings, Lions, Rams, Giants, Saints, Panthers, and that is my list. Thank you for everyone who joined me for this episode of the Harvey Hour Fired Up. Check us back on Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. I do my top 10 AFC teams. Also, I'll get my dad's reaction on my top 10 NFC teams as well. So it should be fun. Should be a good show. Outside of that, we got playoff basketball to talk about. We got Knicks. We got more Lakers. We got potentially Suns, Nuggets. We got a lot going on. A lot going on for Friday's show, so make sure you guys tune in. But for this one, my name's Stephen Harvey. I'm your host for the Harvey Hour Fired Up. I thank you all for joining me and watching this. I will see you guys Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
Or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
Interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.